Okay, everyone, it's 11 o'clock. I know we've got a few people still joining, but I think we should maybe just kick off. So good morning and welcome to this month's webinar entitled Is Personalisation the Key to Success? As you know, this is a huge topic for our industry at the moment, and personalisation means different things to different people. Today we have two of our most influential industry leaders, Nigel Allport from Foresight Communication and Frank Reeves from Avio, and both will give us their thoughts and insights into the subject. I hope that all of you will leave today's webinar with a better understanding of what personalisation means before, during and after our customer stays with us, and also leave with some tips and advice on a personalisation journey that you could apply to your business today. So without further ado, let's kick off with the wonderful Nigel Allport.
Good morning. Good morning, Adrienne. Good morning, everyone joining this webinar. This morning, I'm going to share some thoughts with you on how personalisation can and is impacting the hospitality industry, and how changing guest expectations are driving the need for this. For context, we'll also look at personalisation in other sectors. We will look at the role data has to play in personalising the guest journey, and how you can access data that is often sat latent in multiple different hotel systems using the right tools. We will also take a quick look at what can happen with personalisation when it goes wrong, and then I'll finish up with some key takeaways. So to get things going, on screen at the moment we have a brief overview of Foresight. Foresight has been providing hotel-specific CRM and digital marketing services since 2007. Some of you attending today's webinar might know us as Forth, the name of our parent company. We're a long-established Edinburgh direct mailing and data processing company. It was through the Forth connections that Foresight was born after answering a project inquiry from a world-renowned luxury resort on the west coast of Scotland, actually. They needed some expert advice on how to extract and cleanse their data and to optimize their marketing strategy. Today, Foresight operates out of Edinburgh and Bangor in Northern Ireland, supplying services predominantly in the UK and Ireland, but also with an increasing international outlook. Many Foresight clients will see us as an extension of their marketing team, and our vision is to unlock the guest journey through every hotel touchpoint. The key is the data that hotels hold. More on data in a short while. Right, let me just make sure I've got control of this. So what I'm going to do here, folks, is just give you, really by way of context, a view on what a digital minute looks like in 2019. And the rationale for showing you this first will become clear as we go forward. Okay, on the audio there was a little bit intermittent on my side. I hope that didn't negate the impact of what we were just showing there. But that was 1 minute on the internet. I think you'll agree those numbers are quite astounding, and I would add that they are completely verifiable at a website called visualcapitalist.com. We first started looking at that data ourselves using 2018 data, and then it's been updated with 2019 data. But when you look at the amount of activity, the sheer noise that we're all subjected to every day to a lesser or greater extent, it's not surprising that as a hotelier, you have to do something a little bit different to make sure you get heard. So how do you do that? Well, expectations have changed. 62% of consumers are expecting companies to send personalized offers or discounts based on items that they've already seen. Again, this information is sourced. This was actually from if I recall correctly, a Salesforce survey conducted last year. Similarly, 57% of consumers are willing to share personal data in exchange for personalized offers or discounts. So we know that personalization is the answer. For hotels, this means winning the hearts and minds of guests in an increasingly important and therefore personalization, an increasingly important way, and therefore personalization is the key. With online travel agencies, our friends at friendly OTAs, and accommodation sharing platforms leveraging the power of huge amounts of data to personalize their communications and so their product offerings, hotels need to work harder than ever to keep up. So how do you do that? With personalized content. Personalization in hospitality is already here, and we at Foresight believe will become ubiquitous and an indivisible part of guest acquisition. With personalization, we have seen conversion rates and upsells increase by an average of 25 to 40%. AI and machine learning powered technologies have already accelerated the adoption of personalization techniques across many industries and are making serious strides in hospitality. Let's take a look at how personalization is impacting other sectors. So what we have on screen here is Amazon, which, as we know, provides a frictionless experience of shopping on their platform. They use machine learning to drive content to us during and post sale. This is personalization in action. And if you can just see my cursor here, you can see that these recommendations here have been made by my past purchasing history, and again, some recommendations here based upon my browsing history. Whilst on Amazon, personalization on personalization, Smart Insights, a digital marketing consultancy reported last July that 86% of consumers polled were concerned about data privacy, and that Amazon was the most trusted brand, even beating banks, where data security is arguably stricter. Among Generation Z and millennials, the trust in Amazon is even higher, and an overall whopping 72% of those polled say they were only engaged with personalized messaging. We should also think about Netflix and Spotify. Netflix don't come to you just to watch, they don't want you to go to them to watch a film or have a transaction. They want you to come back again and again and binge watch. They deliver an experience by serving up suggestions and content based on your previous activity and machine learning. This keeps you engaged with the platform. They know you, they get you, so they're less likely to look around for other providers offering a similar service. This same theory applies to your guests. The answer, of course, to all of this and what drives all of this is data. This reference that you have, or this quotation, I should say, that you have on the screen at the moment, data is the new oil. This was coined by the founder of the Tesco Clip Card. Clive Humby coined this phrase, along with his business partner, Edwina Dunn, when they first developed the loyalty card in 1995. Within 1 year, Tesco customers were spending 28% more in its stores, and in the years that followed, Tesco became the third largest grocery retailer in the world. Leveraging huge amounts of transactional data is what drove this business, and the then Tesco chairman once said to Clive Humby, "You know more about my customers after 3 months than I know after 30 years." This was 1995, so using data on this scale is not new. Let's look at how unlocking guest data in hotels works. What we have on screen here is a deliberately messy depiction, whiteboard depiction of the various different technologies, the technology stack that you would find in many hotels. If you can just follow my cursor, I'll move as gently as I can. We've got here the PMS in the center. We've got point of sale here. We've got some guest Wi-Fi, revenue management in here, CRS. I appreciate that not all hotels will have all of these technologies, but this tech stack is huge. These are examples of the primary transactional systems where hotel data can be found. This is not exhaustive by any means, but these are the primary ones. If we think about putting hotel data to work, then we can start to think about these bullet points that we have on screen at the moment. When the data has been collected by a CRM, such as Foresight, potentially layering one data set over another, then the work can begin to make that data actionable. In other words, extracting the latent value in it. The more integrations, the more we can combine data about guests to build deep understanding of not only their stay history, but also their entire journey from booking through stay. Automated deduping and counting takes place, following which deep database segmentation can happen using RFM. RFM is the acronym for recency, frequency, and monetary. What we have on screen now is how all this combines when we've collated and segmented the data, how that then can be combined with various different broadcast channels. What we have on the left-hand side of the screen here is the tech stack, which holds all the information about the guest. It tells us what the guest has done, what they like, and what they want. On the right-hand side of the screen here, we have various different communication channels. We obviously have email, we've got some social media in here, hotel app, we can push content to websites, SMS of course. So when this is combined, it looks something like this. So what we're actually trying to achieve here is that you can deliver the right communications to your guests at the right time using the right medium. For some marketeers, this will be the holy grail. This delivers the best experience for them and the best returns for you. Let's have a look at personalization in hotels. In a moment, I'll show you some images of personalization in hotels. But first of all, we can often think that the benefit of online marketing is the ability to connect with thousands or even millions of people all at once. However, there are plenty of studies that show personalization increases your return on investment. Personalizing your email can increase open rates by up to 26%. Again, this information is verifiable. I actually found this information on a survey that was conducted last year by a company called Moneate, M-O-N-E-A-T-E. More personalization across all marketing platforms helps increase your relevance with your customer base, and the more relevance means more revenue. And for email marketing and other online marketing strategies, staying relevant keeps your emails and content and social media outreach from being deleted, tossed in the spam folder, or even blocked. Also, studies show that increased relevance also translates into increased customer loyalty. Personalization done well means never having to say again, have you stayed here before? Let's look at some examples of personalization in hotels. In this instance, the hotel is using data harvested by a CRM to deliver personalized remarketing message to a past guest. You can see it here with this welcome message. The key to personalization goes beyond using just the guest's name, however. Personalize the content, including images to reflect a guest's past use of amenities or their interests or their behavior. At all times, the goal is to engage subscribers with content that is relevant and in context. In this instance here, it's possible to do deep segmentation and create audiences of various subscriber groups based upon interests. So again, we've got some examples of how this can work here. A few months ago, I was sat with a marketing director of a well-known resort in Northern Ireland, actually, who proudly told me that they had 50,000 opted-in email addresses in their database. The resort in question has a golf course, a spa, and it has a large number of weddings and also some corporate business. However, regardless of the particular subscriber's interest, this marketing director told me that all 50,000 of those opted-in emails received exactly the same content every month in the form of a newsletter. This really isn't necessary. It doesn't need to be. Yes, there are upsell and cross-sell opportunities, of course. However, this can be introduced once the subscriber is engaged, and the engagement is always easier to achieve through personalization. In this instance, we've got the subscriber's name again in the welcome message, in the subject line rather, and this can have a big impact. It's much better, quite obviously, than addressing somebody as dear guest, particularly if you know them and they've stayed with you before. It is also possible, along with this level of personalization here, to personalize content based upon changed circumstances or an event. One example that always comes to my mind is, well, it relates to a major sporting event. Most geographers will be able to relate to something like a half marathon, an annual half marathon, or indeed a marathon. In the case of the London Marathon, which is held every April, it's possible to advise guests who are due to check in over the weekend of the marathon. It's possible to advise them in advance of road closures. This is helpful, and I think of it as providing hospitality before the guest has even set foot in the hotel. Personalization of this type helps with engagement, and of course, post-event, that verbiage can be easily suppressed until 12 months' time when it becomes relevant again. Essentially, what we're talking about here is providing dynamic content to different guests based upon what you know about them. Next, I have some cautionary thoughts when personalization goes wrong. For all the benefits of personalization, sometimes the effort to deliver can be misplaced and can negatively impact guest engagement. There's a number of bullet points here that I'll just scroll through, and then I'll speak to them in a second. The first one is really relates to the fact that the provider of the content has lost sight of the journey that this particular guest has already been on. For example, ever since spending a weekend away in Edinburgh, all I've received is recommendations to visit Edinburgh from the very company that I booked with. So even though they know I've just visited there, they're still sending me content which arguably is not relevant at this moment in time. On bullet point 2, this is another example where an assumption has been made about an individual generic demographic data. One writer I read in preparation for this webinar spoke of her being regularly targeted with adverts for pregnancy tests simply because she was of a certain age and gender. Personally, I can't imagine a worse example, and that is definitely an example of when personalization is very definitely gone wrong. Bullet point 3 is to do with providing information almost in an overload fashion. If we go back to the Netflix example we had earlier in this presentation, we can see how AI and machine learning is providing recommendations for viewing based upon past usage. However, when we look at and log into a Netflix screen, to me personally, it can look very, very crowded, and I feel like I'm having to wade through a lot of information before I get to what I actually want to see. So some balance needs to be achieved, I would suggest. We can use these technologies to deliver personalized content, but it needs to be balanced. Point 4, I think, is perhaps the most important of all in relation to when personalization goes wrong. And I would say don't ever be creepy. We've all been, well, I shouldn't say all, potentially we've experienced been taken aback when you feel like a company knows something about us that you actually wonder how that information got to them in the first place. And when I think of that, I remember a conversation I had probably about 18 months or so ago now with a marketing manager, actually of a luxury hotel in London's Mayfair. And he was telling me how 2 years previously, he had introduced a process where a night manager would have to systematically trawl social media profiles of guests arriving the following day in order that knowledge could be taken on those guests and a personalized welcome could be offered. Again, I think this is creepy. Personally, I think I would find this creepy, and it actually could go very wrong. Imagine greeting a guest with, "Did you enjoy your weekend in Amsterdam?" only for the guest's wife, who's also checking in, saying, "I thought you had work last weekend." So again, some cautionary notes, and particularly around using information that in arguably an inappropriate way. So, to finalise, some takeaways on what has been discussed over the last 15, 20 minutes or so. I would recommend that you use automated data collection tools. Ensure that those tools have robust deduping capabilities. So we're looking at a single profile of a guest. Make sure that you achieve deep data segmentation. Engage with guests throughout the guest journey, before, during, and after the stay. And above all else, don't be creepy. Remember that personalization positively impacts return on investment, increases engagement, and helps mitigate OTA exposure. So with that, I'm going to hand over, I should say, to Frank.
While that's happening, Nigel, there's a couple of questions that have come in, and I just thought I'd maybe put them to you. And
Sure.
So one of them is, what is the correct level of engagement? I can completely agree with you that sometimes it can be too much, but what is the correct level of engagement? How much is too much? So if you had a guest arriving in 3 weeks, how many messages do you feel that they should get before they arrive or after they leave? Have you noticed what?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
What is good or not?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think of not one size fits all in terms of that answer. I'm reminded of a client of mine actually in London, a boutique hotel, who privacy was a big component of their product. They also had a lot of regular guests who demanded privacy. And one of the things that they wished to implement was a post-stay review. However, for the regular guests, the people staying multiple times a week, they didn't want them to receive a review form after every single stay. Instead, they wanted to put in place, which we successfully did, an arrangement where a review form was delivered every 6 days. Conversely, if it was myself staying and I was staying for a weekend as a one-off stay, I would gladly receive that review document. So I think being agile and flexible is really the key, Adrian, and certainly the technologies can provide for that level of flexibility.
Okay, I have one more for you, and I suppose it's actually quite a big question. I'm not sure if it's fair to ask you, but there's a couple of people asking how personalization actually impacts their business and any initial steps that they could make right away. Is there anything that you could throw out there, Nigel, that you think could be done fairly quickly, or at least start a discussion potentially in a team meeting?
Yeah.
Something you would recommend that could be done quite quickly and isn't going to cost a lot of money or a lot of time to implement?
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, thank you for that question. I do think there's a sense of, there should be a sense of urgency with this, quite frankly. We looked earlier at how other technology platforms are using personalization and using their data to deliver that personalization. And as we saw from the Tesco story, this is not exactly new. I do think the hospitality sector has traditionally found it difficult to run at the same pace as some other sectors. Typically, and in my experience, hoteliers will invest elsewhere and not at the same level that say retail operators might. So I do think there's a sense of urgency. Things can, however, be delivered and put into action very rapidly. It starts with the data. We can't get away from that. The data collection is really the driver for everything. But tools to upload and aggregate that data and then provide it back to marketeers in a segmented fashion, they really can be put in place in a very, very short amount of time indeed. So I would urge people to think about this, think about how their competitors are working with personalized content and how the OTAs also deliver with this. So yes, it can be action very rapidly, and I would urge participants in the webinar to consider that.
Okay, well, listen, thank you so much, Nigel. And the next lovely gentleman that is going to contribute today is Frank Reeves from Avio. Many of you know him. He's one of our industry's big hitters. Frank, I'm just going to stop talking and let you take control.
Lovely gentleman, big hitter. Good. How can I live up to that? Thank you very much, and thank you, Nigel, for your slide deck. I think some of what I'll go on to talk about will sort of build and supplement, hopefully nicely, on some of those key facets of personalization that you've already laid out for us. So you've been staring at this slide now for a few minutes with my name on it, so I'll try and move swiftly on and get the slide going. So much and all as I love talking about my company, I'll keep this bit brief. We're mostly known in the industry for the work we do around e-commerce for hotels. Our primary mission in life is to make the direct channel, i.e. the hotel website, the single biggest channel in the overall distribution space and fastest growing. So that's our core focus when we onboard a new client hotel or service department. Quickly establishing that sort of dominance for brand.com, and then, you know, over time looking at how we can take more and more of a share from OTAs focused around brand.com, with a key focus on return on investment and ensuring brand.com is far more affordable and profitable. So ultimately we see our responsibility to directly impact the bottom line for our customers and driving profitability. So the booking engine is the core of our e-commerce focus, as you might imagine. And in 2017, October 2017, we brought artificial intelligence to the booking engine space. We'd been thinking about that and working on it for a very long time. Felt very lucky to be first to do that. I still think we're the only ones in the market bringing facets of AI to the booking engine. Mostly what we see, including even on the main brand sites, is, you know, the equivalent of a brochure website with a plug-in booking engine, where there is no real intelligence or focus on who the guest is, who the customer is. It's just a one-size-fits-all. So not AI for the sake of AI, but AI for the very clinical purpose of delivering a personalized booking experience for every guest. So we felt the hotel website was missing a brain, in a sense, to complement the beautiful brochure aesthetics. But what is really driving which customers should see which message, and how we try and nurture things like booking intent. So what we do with our Allura booking engine now is really try and personalize that. In addition, we are a very established, very credible, I think very effective, from an ROI perspective, digital marketing agency, managing huge budgets on behalf of our hundreds of independent hotels, premium partner in Google, being obviously driving the right kind of traffic at the right cost to deliver the right ROI is a fundamental part of hotels' e-commerce strategy. So we've got a very strong focus on digital marketing. And then thirdly, to round out the Avio bit, we've been doing hotel and only hotel web design since about 2003. So well over 1,000 hotel websites now, all with this sort of e-commerce. How do we marry this real need to deliver results around the beautiful aesthetics of web design? So concludes the Avio piece. So artificial intelligence, Nigel's obviously hit on that a little bit. The whole industry is talking about it. There was a big Sabre announcement, I think, last week saying they're finally getting on the AI train and looking to migrate their platform to Google over the next couple of years to take advantage of some AI. So it's sort of everywhere, really. And it's such a huge topic. I thought I'd start off with something a little more lighthearted. So I'm going to show everybody a couple of images. In the time that I give you, which won't be very long, really study the upcoming images to see if you can pick out the finer details. What I'm asking you to test here, using your human eyes and your human brain, what I'm asking you to test is, can you determine whether this image is a real person or whether it is an image created by an AI tool, right? Some are real, some are not. Here we go. I'm not going to give you very long on each one, and I'm going to reserve my commentary, lest I get in trouble, reserve my own commentary on each image. Okay, this is number 3. I'll show them all to you again at the end. I know. This one, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Okay, I'll show those all to you again. So, which of the following images are real people? Which of the following are entirely made up by an AI program? The answer is, they're all made up. No real people here. This is a tool that I'll happily share with you. It's a publicly available tool. It's a website you just go to and program in, I want an image of a 20-year-old gentleman wearing a brown shirt with glasses in a field, and it'll just give you that. So entirely simulated and made up by artificial intelligence. I don't think that's what Google had in mind, though, when they pivoted in January 19 to say, you know what, it's or January 18 rather, to say that AI is one of the most important things humanity is working on and more profound than electricity or fire. Google used to talk about AI, mobile first, and they were partly right in doing that, as I'll come on to talk about. But yeah, AI, it's everywhere. We can have some fun with it, but it really is underpinning so many facets of life, and that will just accelerate further from here. Some people are rightly skeptical about it. I think this image might help us understand where some of that healthy skepticism comes from. AI is a vast field of computer science that brings in everything from robotics to machine learning and recommender engines and natural language processing and Siri and Alexa and everything else. It's just such a broad, vast area of computer science that it tends to kind of touch and have an impact, potentially touch and have an impact on everything. This is one way of looking at AI as it breaks down by subcategory, just to give everyone a sense of it. I'll talk maybe a little about the opportunity with machine learning and recommender engines in the upcoming slides, but again, that's not to say that what Avio are doing with Allura in the field of AI is anywhere close to what IBM are doing with Watson to revolutionize and improve healthcare globally, right? So as we go through it, this is and this goes back to 2017, but I think it's still probably relevant. This slide helps us understand the investment or penetration in artificial intelligence by category. So we see healthcare right at the top, and I mentioned IBM Watson there. And we see it as we come down through it, we'll see advertising and fintech and cybersecurity, education, etc. Loads of industries have invested in AI. Travel tech is still, I think, woefully behind the curve here. I think any investments that are being made in AI currently in the travel tech sector are by OTAs, Google with their travel tools, airlines, major brands like that. But we have seen AI really democratized so that it is accessible. There are ways to leverage AI and to start an AI strategy for independent hotels. Hopefully I'll go on to convince you of that and show you the upside to some of that in the upcoming slides. This is the area that I'm going to focus on from here on out, though. It's user experience, it's guest experience. So we combine the Gartner quote that, look, the future of business competition is user experience. Combine that with Accenture saying AI is user experience. And you'll get a sense of where I'm going to try and sort of focus your minds on the opportunity and the risk for brand.com. And when we come back to our key topic here is whether personalization is the key to success. I'm hoping to convince you that it is. So when we look at personalization, what I want to, I think I might have skipped over a slide here in my deck. Let me just go back. Okay, I think yeah, there's one of my slides not showing up, but that's fine. So to pick up on some of Nigel's points around Netflix and Spotify and Amazon, right? So there are very tangible experiences with AI in our day-to-day lives. And if you throw in Facebook and ASOS and why not Booking.com as well, one area that all of these e-commerce companies, and I call them all e-commerce companies now, including Facebook, albeit you're not the customer of Facebook, right? The advertisers are the customer. But one key area of similarity across all of these brands is that your user experience on Amazon, for example, would be different to mine. Your user experience on Netflix, Spotify, Facebook, ASOS, Google, and on and on and on. And Booking.com, right? So your homepage of Booking.com, your search results on Booking.com for hotels in London on the same dates as I search will be different. Potentially the images that you see for the hotels there will be different. Certainly the tiles that you see on Netflix advertising Stranger Things or whatever it might be, the actual image they show you for that piece of content may be different, even though we're both looking at the same recommended piece of content. So we're seeing, and we have seen, a profound shift away from generic one-size-fits-all user experience to a personalized user experience. Not so much on hotel websites, though. Right? While Booking.com will give me a different experience, what does your website do to differentiate? And to that matter, what does your website do to somebody that's booked already? Is it just still book direct to every user on your site? So I wanted to combine that shift, that broad e-commerce evolution from generic to personalized. I wanted to combine that now with what we now know to be the customer journey, okay, particularly in travel. So if this slide is coming out okay, the white font on top may not be too clear. That says the marketing funnel is dead, and it's Google saying that. So it's no longer the case, if you listen to Google and everybody else, it's no longer the case that somebody comes to your website and makes a booking or doesn't. It's not really what's happening, okay? In travel in particular, sure, somebody is coming to your website. They're also doing lots of other things, and they're doing lots of things on your website, and they may come to your website multiple times. So there are multiple funnels here. It's not just one bite of the cherry, so to speak. Multiple complex user funnel that we have evolved as digital marketeers and e-commerce experts to deliver around. This is an example of what a customer or a guest would do on a hotel website, right? And it's not even the same from your domestic market to your international market. But these show you the kind of pages that, in this case, an Irish hotel, their domestic market, are coming in on certain pages, their user journey. They obviously know a little bit more about the Irish geography and where hotels are relative to other things. North American customers, very different user journey. Returning visitors, very different to first-time visitors. So we have a lot of data now. We really understand a lot about the customer journey. And it comes together, I think, nicely in this visual where, and again, this is McKinsey and Virtu saying, in travel, we have people that may start on Google, for example, or a different search engine. An OTA could be a search engine. Trivago could be a search engine in travel. But nonetheless, they may well start on a search engine. I don't know anything about Florence, so somebody needs to help me understand the hotel landscape in Florence. And what they'll then do is maybe jump to an intermediary or a supplier. Then they might change device, and they will jump around and move around multiple times as they go from a initial position of research, and research almost by definition is sort of low in transactional intent, right? So I'm just thinking about where I'm going to go on holidays. I'm not in the market to book anything right now. I'm just at the start of my journey researching, and over the course of that user journey, intent changes, behavior changes alongside with intent. And what we call each stage is, we've evolved now from hits on your website and clicks and page views. We now talk about these as moments or moments of intent, right? So the way you could think about it from a hotel perspective is, well, how many moments do you experience with a guest on your website up to the point that they make a booking, right? One person coming back 5 times, that's not 5 people. That's not a conversion rate of, 1 out of 5, right? That's the same person 5 times. So we really have, the booking engine market really has sort of not moved with the times here. And we really have to be able to follow that specific guest journey and their travel funnel in terms of moments. Every touch point, every moment that a guest or a potential guest will have with you is an opportunity to learn something about who they are. And I'll come on and show you some examples of that. So when we think about the question I just asked, actually, which was, well, how many, if we're to generalize a little bit here, well, how many website moments does it take to deliver a booking from a guest? Alora has profiled over 70 million guest user journeys on our hotel websites, our hotel client websites rather, since we went live in 2017. So when we look at the 4-star London market, we see on average 8 moments. Now this does vary. North American market will look different to your domestic market. I want to encourage you no longer to think of one size fit all. But on average, for the sake of presenting this data, we see on average 8 website moments, website interactions to deliver a booking to a London 4-star hotel. And those take place over 70 hours from first website visit or first website moment. Now, this is looking at the domestic market, the long haul, Australian market, the Chinese market, the US market, the Irish market, in that fact, will behave differently. And then even within those different market segments, individuals will, of course, behave differently. Have they been here before? Do they know your hotel? Do they have sort of trust in your brand? In which case, totally different potential user experience and journey. But just to get you thinking about how customers are actually engaging here. So 8 moments, 70 hours. As I mentioned at the start, the intention to book your hotel on their first interaction is incredibly low. Right there, if you go back to that sort of travel journey, and they're in research mode, right? They've come from Google to your website, or maybe from Booking.com to your website. But typically, genuinely the first time you've ever seen them, they deliver really low booking intent in terms of what we see. So suffice it to say, I mean, it's a generalization, but it would be a good takeaway if you considered that all of the people who are booking your hotel today will have been to your website multiple times before. Okay, they're not really coming and booking today if it's their first experience on your site. The one exception, the caveat here, is that we do score intent a little bit higher, even first moment intent higher, if that visitor is coming directly from a meta search site. So they've been in price comparison. They've not just thinking about your hotel, they've directly compared your price and booking channels for your hotel. And things like Black Friday and various promo codes, if they've come in on a very effective pay-per-click campaign for Mother's Day, for example, even though first moment could still be higher intent. So even there, it's not one size fits all, I'm afraid. And this is the point, right? So every user journey, every customer is giving us something potentially quite different. But so I want to talk about how we try and optimize then. So what are we learning? Look at the bottom line there, all these gold buttons. Well, how do we use each of these moments as an opportunity to learn, to understand who this person is, what they might be interested in, and how we might shorten the gap, reduce the gap between what our hotel has that they specifically might be interested in. So this is one example of our recommender engine powered by Alora, which is just popping up in this particular scenario on the homepage of the Strand Hotel. And what it's doing here, two things. It's recognizing that we've seen this visitor before, that they're in North America, and on one of multiple visits, they've confirmed the dates they were interested in. We see very low date flexibility, by the way, particularly when there's full availability or healthy availability. So it's very low date flexibility. So it's fair to say we could pull and extract a rate. But what we're also doing is taking a TripAdvisor review from North America, aligning to, they've obviously clicked on a family page, or they've given us some signal that they're in the market for a family, maybe the occupancy they used in a date search. So when we saw them the first time, and the second and third time, they weren't in the booking market. Now we think they're in the booking market. So now we're really trying to nurture that booking intent by putting the best possible marketing information, shortening the gap, talking to them as an American, giving them US dollars. And to Nigel's earlier point about, we don't want to show them everything we have available here. We want to show them the spa and the swimming leisure facilities for their kids and the rates that are applicable and the room types that are available for their families. So actually reduce the content by refining and almost zooming in on who they are and what's relevant there. So very big results here, and ROI, if I can just sort of broadly get people thinking about the opportunity from just a generic one-size-fits-all approach to e-commerce to a personalized. So opportunities in multiple areas, but certainly on conversion rate. You're having a relevant conversation versus a one-size-fits-all. Varies by hotel. This is when you break that conversion down by segment. This is, I think, looking at the UK market as a booking segment to an Irish hotel, right? Because of that very tailored sort of bespoke UK positioning, like the example that I showed a little bit earlier. So very strong results here. You're just tailoring your sales approach, basically. I mentioned mobile first and was slightly critical of Google saying that it was all about mobile first. I want to change how everybody thinks about mobile a little bit, or challenge it at least. If we look at what devices guests are using to book, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all here. So this is the Dublin 4-star hotel market, so Avio clients that are in that category of Dublin 4-star hotels. And these are the booking devices used. Might take you a minute to get your head into this data, but basically, if you look at the bottom of the chart in the orange, that shows that the Irish market, i.e. the domestic market, is mostly booking Dublin hotels on a mobile device now. Right? Not so for the North American market, not so for the UK market. So while mobile first in terms of an e-commerce strategy is very, very relevant for Irish hotels to their domestic market, it's not how you're going to convert to North American, right? Or an Australian, for example. So great mobile first, but we've got to be more nuanced than that. We have a lot of data now that we need to be looking at. But across our hotels, across different markets, geographies, and segments, it's fair to assume that your mobile booking opportunity will be twice as high for your domestic guests than your international guests. And sometimes, depending on the markets you're looking at, it's probably be 3 times as high for domestic market as international market. Just a couple more visuals. This is a view on what happened in Ireland with the domestic market. So you see back in May or June 2018, mobile overtook desktop, and it's not going to come back, right? It's going to continue to pull away. This, however, is the North American market with a desktop device on top and that same orange line representing mobile. So mobile is never going to overtake desktop to a US customer booking an Irish hotel, not anytime soon at least. Okay, so just a different way to think about mobile first. And finally, I wanted to try and bring it all together by talking about what's changing in the landscape, in the distribution landscape. We have Google playing a more and more active role now. And while Google will be the first to say that they are not an OTA, Google have recently deployed incredibly effective tools that mimic OTA services to the guests. So this is just a screenshot on mobile. But if you've not yet been to google.com/travel, it's incredible, right? Google don't have any contracts around rates or availability, so they're sitting on everybody's rates and availability, and they're sitting on all of your data and your calendar probably and your Gmail and everything that there is to know about you. So Google are offering incredible tools here on the travel vertical, and what that's doing is really threatening OTAs, right? If customers start to engage more with Google's travel tools than they do OTAs. I mean, if you can do all this on Google, it's another way to approach it. Why use Booking.com? Why use Expedia, right? Google's a brand that everybody knows, loves, and trusts. So what's happening here is that it's forcing the OTAs to evolve beyond booking sites. This is now what Booking.com talk about as their value proposition. Not a booking agency, but a travel site, right? An online travel portal. Booking.com want to be with you not just when you're deciding where to book and when you book, but they want to be in your face at the airport when you land, putting you in an Uber. And they want to be telling you everything to do about the location that you're going to stay. They want to be with you all the way home. And if they don't succeed in doing that, and Expedia does, then Expedia will eat their lunch if Google doesn't eat everybody's lunch in the meantime. So I want to, I guess, just take a moment of pause to talk about not just personalization for brand.com, but the context for that in an overall travel distribution space. Because I think we've now moved, the battlegrounds have moved from travel sites as booking sites to travel sites as online hospitality sites. Right? So all of these sites listed here, you've got your traditional OTAs, but I put Google in there as well. These guys don't just want to be your booking site, they want to give you a VIP travel experience. And that's really where the battle is on. And I think, you know, it is more incumbent on us to take this data on the customer journey and have a valid online travel experience that goes beyond just a one-size-fits-all book direct brochure that we give to everybody, including somebody who booked 2 days ago and is on our website pre-stay, right? Final thing I want to leave you with is the opportunity that I think all other booking engines miss by virtue of they consider their job to be done at the point that a booking is delivered. Okay, so and it's a gap even on this visual here, right? This visual goes up until the buy moment. Final thought I'd leave you with is that 85% of bookings conducted on the Alora platform, now transacted on the Alora platform, now 85% of those are for cancelable rates. Right? That's up from about 73% 2 years ago. And the practices around revenue management and competing with the OTAs online seem to be moving us more and more towards, you know, rates that allow the customers full flexibility. And we kind of have to do that on the direct channel because the OTAs are doing it and we need to stay competitive. But the problem with that is cancellation risk, right? So it's no longer okay to consider the job to be done at the point that somebody makes a booking. If 85% of those bookings are actually, you know, at risk of cancellation. Right? Many hotels are experiencing up to 30% cancellation rates now on their direct website. So there is an opportunity and the risk by stopping there. The opportunity is that, you know, we miss opportunities to go on and maximize revenue, right? How should we deal with somebody who's already booked our hotel but is on our website pre-stay? What are the very basic tenets of hospitality there? We certainly don't want to say book direct once they've made a booking. We do want to nurture that relationship, protect that business, you know, maximize the opportunity around ancillaries, etc. So this is just one area where I want to give you some food for thought around the opportunity post-booking but pre-stay with personalization. And just some indicators here around how continuing that conversation post-booking can also deliver a significant impact in terms of average booking value. So to wrap up my slides, I want to come back to the very start again. The question really was, is personalization the key to success? I think there are huge gains. Hopefully I've shown you some of those gains, huge gains to be made. But I think also not to be kind of, you know, at risk of fear mongering, but if brand.com for hotels doesn't really elevate beyond just being a beautiful brochure that shouts book direct at everybody, I think, you know, not only will it miss a very big opportunity around conversion and booking value, but I think it will fall away as a relevant channel for e-commerce in the travel distribution space. So hopefully I've got a few minutes left over, Adrienne, if there are any questions, and I hope that made sense. Sorry, it was a bit, maybe a bit rushed.
No, not at all, Frank. Thank you so much. There is a couple of questions in, and I suppose if I maybe blended them together, actually. So are we actually tackling personalization correctly, or does it limit our customers' potentials to spend if we're pushing them down a certain route? Are we, because they maybe looked at a dining page before or a spa page, by pushing them down that route, are we potentially limiting our spend, or are we thinking of that in too much of a narrow view?
I mean, it's all about the balance. If I go first on this one, it's all about the balance. But also, we do need, I mean, it's a new area, right? And it's all about trial and error. We'll never stop. We'll never be done. But when the data does give us confidence to broadly do things, like I don't want your Facebook, I want my Facebook, right? So yes, I'm missing things by having my Facebook feed and not your Facebook feed, but at the same time, I'm getting something more relevant than a generic Facebook feed. if the question is, should we say book direct to somebody that booked 2 days ago? Absolutely not. Right. So that's an example of where personalization, let's think about hotels that have even dropped their price. So you're going to give me a pop-up that tells me that the rate I booked 2 days ago is actually cheaper. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to cancel, right? And all the OTAs are going to continue marketing me long after I've booked your hotel to try and pull me back to rebook on those channels. The data we're seeing is that if you do have availability, then broadly speaking, date flexibility isn't too high from certain segments. So you can reinforce by proactively recommending the rates, suitable rates. If somebody has previously searched during a research phase for 2 adults and a child, the resulting occupancy of a booking is highly likely to be 2 adults and a child. So you can lean on some of that family stuff there. But of course, you could take it too far. People's requirements change. Everything they do on your website is a signal. You never stop, which is why we do it through AI and machine learning rather than people hard coding all this stuff. But is there a risk to making mistakes here? Absolutely.
I have to say, Frank, I kind of take all of that on board, and my personal point of view is that I think we're doing something much cleverer than we were doing a year or 2 years ago, and you can't possibly understand every iteration of a guest's journey, even if they were standing in front of you. So, by doing something a little bit cleverer or a lot cleverer and trying to improve that customer journey, I think you're definitely on the right path. And I think as hotels, we have to adopt that. We have to be seen to be doing something, or we're very much going to get left behind.
And we do it, of course, offline. So this is really just the reality today is if you want a good online hospitality experience, you should probably use an OTA, because you're not going to find a good hospitality experience online on the vast majority of hotel websites. So it's about online hospitality now. If you do that bit right, then the channel will thrive as an engaging one. But if you don't do online hospitality, then why should I engage there when Google and OTAs are doing so much more?
I agree. I think it's very difficult for hotels to fight that battle. And so I think having those layers of personalization, and as I say, even taking those very first initial steps into that area is something that we actually really do need to do. I have a couple of questions that I ask all of our guests who come onto the webinars. And maybe if I just let you continue speaking, Frank, and then switch to Nigel just for some thoughts on this. But if you were looking at personalization, what do you think one tip for one thing that you think is going to be the biggest opportunity for us, and one thing that's actually going to be the biggest threat to us?
I do think the opportunity, and I've shown some data there around, the opportunity in improved conversion, improved booking value, reducing cancellations. I think we're completely committed to if our entire business model is e-commerce on brand.com for hotels, we're entirely committed to using AI and personalization through machine learning in order to deliver that. So for me, hand on heart, it is a fantastic opportunity, but also a risk, because I think it's about online hospitality now. The irony is that if third parties are going to do online hospitality for my hotel better than I can do it myself, then we can't say that it's because the tools weren't there. There have been challenges in the industry, no doubt, around some sort of legacy technology that's not allowed or really helped hotels pushing forward, but can't really say that it's because the technology doesn't allow us to do it anymore.
Okay, Nigel, we're running very quickly out of time. If I could just ask you the same thing, do you see a great opportunity or a massive threat to us at the moment?
I think it's I concur with Frank. I do believe there's a huge opportunity, and I would just reference that example way back when I was presenting about Tesco's, about the sheer impact it had on their business. Personalization impacted their business to the extent that they became the third largest grocery retailer in the world very rapidly after deploying a personalization strategy. So the opportunity is huge. The risk is really getting left behind, and competing hotels doing things that you're not. So I would urge everybody to get involved in personalization. to whatever extent they're able to, using technologies such as Avio and Foresight, and of course there's others as well.
Okay, guys, listen, thank you so much. We've had some lovely messages and feedback coming in saying how interesting it is, and a lot of the participants have learned so much, so thank you so much. I know both of you guys are really, really busy, so thanks for taking an hour out of your time to do this today. We have recorded it. It will go on our YouTube channel. It will also be shared on LinkedIn and put out to everyone who joined today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. As I said, two of our industry's biggest hitters, and we had them both online today. So thank you so much, and hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Adrian.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.